Hi everyone and welcome to this video. I'm Glenn and this is episode 8 of the Oathsworn painting series. In this episode I'm painting the Ranger. If you're new to miniature painting, I hope you'll find this video interesting and helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section below. As usual, let's see how I went from a pristine unpainted miniature to this fully painted one. Let's begin. First, I remove all the mold lines by using a hobby knife. The mold lines can be found on the body and all the weapons. Next, I assemble the model. These are the first edition models and they come unassembled. I use two different glues, which are essentially the same glue. However, for the one to the right, I have added some leftover plastic sprue from other model kits like Warhammer. The plastic sprue is added to the glue to achieve a thick mixture, which is ideal for filling gaps on miniatures along the connection points. I use the mixture to fill out visible gaps. If the surface becomes rough due to the mixture, you can easily smooth it out by applying the pure glue. Time to clean the model in soapy water and rinse it in clean water and let it dry. Then I primed the model with Chaos Black primer. Next I used an airbrush to make a centerfold light effect by applying a white color from above. This can also be applied by using a can of white primer. Now we are all set and good to go. I prepared the speed paints on a palette which consists of palette bone, orc skin, salad yellow, gravelord grey, hardened leather and highlord blue. I mix orc skin and palette bone to create a different tone of green. The ratio is approximately 1 part orc skin and 12 to 15 parts of palette bone. This mix is applied to all her skin. Before continuing to the armor parts, I paint her stomach with the same tone of green. Next I mix 1 part hardened leather and 1 part orc skin. I apply this mix to the loincloth around the waist and the armor parts on the chest, legs and arms. I paint the bow using Gravelord Grey. I wipe off the brush to soak up some of the excess paint on the bow, as I think I applied too much. I continue on her hair using the same tones of greens I mixed previously, and I also mix in other colors like Gravelord Grey and Cellared Yellow. This is to give the hair a more random appearance. I also apply Gravelord Grey to the quiver on the back, avoiding the feathers on the arrows. I apply a touch of green to prevent it from appearing completely grey. The feathers on the arrows I paint with Cellared Yellow. And finish them with a small amount of orc skin. Let's move on to the base. I paint this base as I have done in my other videos. The colors are applied randomly, keeping the tree log mostly brown and the rest mostly green. I use the same tones of colors as on the ranger, adding highlight blue to the green to create deep green tones. I mix medium gunship grey and Caliban green. This mix is applied to the edges of the decoration or trim on the armor parts, the loincloth and the quiver. Next I mix Caliban green and Uriel yellow. This mix is applied to the flat surfaces in between the decoration or trim, and also on the loincloth to brighten up these areas. I follow up with one more layer with more yellow into the mix. Keep in mind that I apply more of this mix to the most exposed and raised areas, imagining the light source coming directly from above. So in this case, I apply more on the chest and arms compared to the legs. I used the same mix as previously, this time incorporating bone white. Once again, I carefully applied this mix along the decoration or trim with a focus on the most exposed and raised areas. I add even more bone whites into the mix and move the layer more towards the most exposed and raised areas. I also applied this to the upper part of the face. I mix another tone of green with Lauren Forest and Bone White. This mix is applied as layers to her skin. I use the same principle as before, adding more bone white into the mix for further layers. I layer the skin with small thin lines, creating the appearance of wood grains. I use pure bone white as the final layer or highlight. I proceed to her hair again. I would like the hair to appear more random, so I use all the tones of greens I have on the wet palette, and use the lightest tones on the most exposed and raised areas. The hair was dark in some of the recesses for my taste, so I used a green tone to lighten them up. I also refined her face using a more yellow tone and a mix with Lauren Forest and Bone White. I used a mix of medium gunship grey and Caliban green to define the eye sockets. I use bone white and stipple the paint in a random pattern along the hair. I find this approach appealing as it mimics the natural look of branches. This randomness adds a touch of realism, avoiding a completely fine and delicate highlights along the hair branches. I use the same technique on the decoration on the armor and loincloth. I use Oathsworn Grey on the eyes. And follow up with Plasmatic Bolt. I would like the bow to resemble the artwork with the entangled amber in the bow, so I applied Oathsworn Grey to some of these areas on the bow. Avoid the handle, this was not supposed to be painted, this area was repainted later. I apply cellared yellow onto the Oathsworn Grey, avoiding the handle. I mix bone white and medium concept grey to highlight the bow. I follow up with the other tones of green, the mix of medium concept grey, Caliban green and bone white. Also the mix of Lauren Forest and bone white. I mix Aerial Yellow and Oathsworn Grey, applying this mix to the amber on the bow. I follow up with an even lighter mix, incorporating more Oathsworn Grey into the mix. Fire Giant Orange is applied as a thin layer to the outer areas on the amber. Next, I refined the amber with the light mix of Ethereal Yellow and Oathsworn Grey. I use a mix of Caliban Green and Ethereal Yellow to highlight the strap around her thigh. I use the same process on the dagger as on the amber entangled in the bow. I highlight the feathers on the bow using the light mix of Ethereal Yellow and Oathsworn Grey. Let's return to the base for highlighting and detailing. I use tones of scrag brown and bone white, particularly for the tree log. I also incorporate tones of green and yellow for the rest of the base, which touches on the lower parts of the tree log, and grey tones are also applied to the stones. I add fungus or mushrooms to the base by painting small dots using Warlord Purple. I highlight the dots with a mix of Warlord Purple and Bone White. After the detailing on the base, I go the 2 laps around the base rim with a black color. I gave the model a coat of matte varnish to protect the paints. I follow up with gloss varnish on the amber to give it a shiny appearance. And for the final step, I sprinkled the base with tufts and flowers, carefully attached with superglue. And with that, the miniature is complete. Let's have a look at the final result.
Hello there. What can I do you for? Ah, provisions. Right. Going outside the walls, are you? You Oathsworn are the courageous type. Oh, foolish. Anyhow, that's a long list you have there. That's gonna be a lot of iron. Huh. Not one for many words, are you? But I see payment's not gonna be a problem. Sorry, I don't mean to pry, but is it true that your kind can grow arrows from your own body? Those are the siege bells. Looks like my questions are gonna have to wait. The city needs you, Oathsworn. You best get out there. Accursed creatures stand at our gates, and the Painting Chronicles Brotherhood stands at the ready to face this evil. Join our cause by subscribing, and we shall triumph together. Pillar and Path Brothers. Also like and comment.